G'day there, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and congratulations to all of you. You've done it. You found the champ dog. So happy Monday, everyone. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you had some time to check out the MTG World Championships that took place over the weekend. Big congrats to Yuta Takahashi for taking away the event. I did watch a fair few of his games. I watched all of the final round games between him and Jean-Emmanuel Depras, who came in second place. And also some of his games in day 2 in the standard portion of the event, which got really emotional for him by the end. He did really badly in the first portion of the event, which was draft, I believe. It was a limited format. He went 0-3 in that section and then went 7-0 in the standard portion of the event to secure his place in the finals. And then actually went undefeated in constructed all the way through to winning the entire event. So after those first 3 losses in limited, he actually didn't lose a match since then. So it was a great performance for him. Absolute fairy tale ending. And great to see someone come back from behind and win like that. It was really emotional. It was also quite exciting for me because he was playing an Izzet Dragons list, which I've had a blast with this season, which is sort of contrary to the consensus opinion that the Epiphany lists are the best Izzet lists to be running. I've had a lot of success with Izzet Dragons, so it was also exciting for me to see it take out the tournament. In fact, one of the takeaways for the tournament is that one of the big winners over the weekend is Goldspan Dragon. 2 decks registered Goldspan Dragon, and those were the 2 decks that made it into the final games. So Jean-Emmanuel Depras with Timor Treasures, as he called it, which is basically a Gruul aggro deck, splashing a little bit of blue for counterspells, but does have the Goldspan Dragon, Magda, Jaspera Sentinel sort of package, and then, of course, Yuta playing Izzet Dragons. So great weekend for Goldspan Dragon. Great weekend for Magic watchers. And yeah, just all around there are some great games. So let me know in the comments, what were your favorite games? What were your favorite deck lists? But today we're going to be obviously jumping into the Arena. So over the weekend, Arena also ran an event for free where you could play with any of the World Championship deck lists. It is in best of 1, which is probably doing the decks a little bit of a disservice as they're obviously all designed for best of 3. I'm a little disappointed there wasn't a best of 3 option and that, you couldn't really fully explore the decks and the matchups. But it's an event that we're doing for free. I can't really look a gift horse in the mouth too much. So in honor of the 2 finalists, Yuta Takahashi and Jean-Emmanuel Depras, today and tomorrow we're going to be playing their decks in that event. Starting off today, of course, with Yuta Takahashi's Izzet Dragons list, and we'll follow up tomorrow with the Timor list that Jean-Emmanuel Depras brought in. But for now, shuffle up, and I'll see you in the arena. Okay, so on the draw, I think this is a very easy mulligan. I'm going to risk it and keep this. So opponents on Sam Party, if I recall correctly, that was a mono-green aggro list. So I do have some turn 2 removal, and hopefully we find land for the turn 3 divide by zeros. Another Dragon's Fire is nice. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on this Memory Deluge at the moment, though. Fire that off. Not doing anything else with our mana otherwise. Missing the land drop there is brutal. That could be what costs us the game. Okay, no, they play into our negate. That is beautiful for us. Okay, and we have a 3rd land. Excellent. Excellent. So we can divide by 0 here. And then grab an Environmental Sciences to get another island. And still have Dragon's Fire held up. So that'll be a pretty good situation for us. If they do manage to sneak through a Essika's Chariot at some point, we do have the divide by 0 to bounce it. I think ideal for us would be to hit the next couple of land drops. Obviously, we want to find some blue mana. Next couple of land drops and find a gold span. And hopefully begin attacking on an empty board. Opponents in the tank over there. Land for turn. Pack leader, sure, we have a removal spell for that. Okay. It would have been nice to use the divide and get the environmental sciences. We do find a land anyway, which is nice, but it does just mean that our mana wasn't used as efficiently, and so this turn is also a little more awkward than it would have otherwise been. However, had we tapped out for the sciences, they could have easily resolved a chariot here. Would have loved to have the egg down before doing all of this, but it was not to be. It's another easy divide. I forgot to edit the sideboard here, so this is the only other thing we have to grab. I forgot to even look in the sideboard, to be honest, even though I know that's an issue in this event. So this is very nice, getting the gold span down on an empty board. And I am just going to play out the egg here. I could have foretold an epiphany to make sure I had that as well, if I hit a land drop. But either way, I'm either dependent on the dragon surviving or on finding a land. And this at least adds to my board. So hopefully they don't have the fight spell here, although they very easily could. Looks like they do not. Another dragon is very appealing, but perhaps not as appealing as just attacking with this one and going for the epiphany. Although it looks like our opponent is holding something up, so this could have been a mistake. If they do have the fight spell, though, their timing's been horrible. Their timing has been horrible, because now no matter what, I have 2 treasures and I get to epiphany, which should wrap the game up. Your new world champion, Cam's the Champ Dog. Unless they've got that 2-mana green counter spell that I've heard so much about. So if they don't remove the dragon, triggering it can be lethal. The Ashmouth dragon, that is. If they do, we've got a gold span dragon back up. Opponent in the tank again. Looks like we might be getting the salt rope. I did get a bit of that in this event when I tried it before. Okay, and they scoop. We get there. On the play. Always good. Seth Manfield, I think he was on mono green as well. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Please don't quote me. But, I mean, being on the play is always great. This hand seems definitely keepable. Hopefully hold up Disruption on turn 2 and catch something. And then we can divide by 0. And we've got a Prismari command to answer 2/3 of an Essica's Chariot if it comes to that. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we can just counter something like that. But still a nice little safety blanket. See what our opponent does over there. So lead on this, so we don't have to worry about it coming in tapped a bit later. And just pass with Disruption up. Easy. Again, save that coming in tapped later. I don't love giving away information to our opponent, but what do we do here? No respect for the potential second disruption. Okay, so we definitely have all the land that we'll ever need. Is now a good time to go for iteration? Definitely not the worst time. Well, that's a little savage because I kind of want to keep all of these. We do have the gold span dragon, so I think I'd rather keep the divide by 0. Deluge into the library, exile this. And so next turn is gold span dragon. I think I just get this out of the way. As I've said, we do have the bounce spell for a resolved... we do have the command for a resolved chariot or the divide by 0 if it does need to come to that. Okay, tapped land, so no chariot this turn. That's always good to see. And just always good to be able to play a gold span down and start attacking on a relatively empty board. So again, we won't be able to stop a chariot coming down this turn. We will be able to protect against a fight spell. Of course, they'll just be able to recast it, but we can return a fight spell to their hand. And it does look like they're going to go for one here. So I think what we do is return the troll to hand instead. We could return our own gold span. But I would rather not be replaying gold span next turn. This is obviously a bit of a risk because I don't have a follow-up. I don't have a way to protect it from another fight spell. Play the other land that they know about. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool, so I can do this and kill off both of the pack leaders. That's... wow, this is so bad. That little bit of our interface shifting around like that. That is just such bad design. That's such bad user experience. Wowzers. Stay hydrated. So again, hopefully they don't have an answer for the dragon. They can slap down their troll this turn. We are tapped out. They can develop a lair of the Hydra if they want to. I don't know what would be taking so long in this decision unless they did have a fight spell. I mean, I'm tapped out. The only way this produces mana is if you target it. So you are free to resolve at least something in your hand. So they opt to just get the damage in. So we could see land Blizzard Brawl, but we do not. Interesting. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't just develop the troll that turn, given that we were tapped out. That seems very strange to me. But we do get to cast the Epiphany for the win. Okay, on the draw... against unknown opponent. I don't know what this deck is. We have a couple of counter spells. We do have an iteration. If this is an aggro deck, this is a really bad hand to keep. Again, this is information I wish I had, but I do not because I'm just not that guy. This is going to be a speculative keep. I think we lead on a smashing. Got a turn 2 Hall of Storm Giants. Okay, yep, this is one of the Grixis Epiphany lists, so that's kind of what I was hoping for. The counter spells should serve us well in that matchup. Iteration should be good as well, obviously not on turn 2. But it is at the very least a live spell in this matchup. Nothing to do this turn, unfortunately. We will need to worry about this smoldering egg, so we might need to divide by 0 that. Opponent gets to cast Iteration, which is always a little bit savage. Find the land, so they've got all 3 of their colors now. I don't know if this main deck's duress either. So do we just go for an iteration of our own? I don't think we can be too badly punished. The only thing that will really punish us would be Galvanic iteration into duress. But I think that's a risk we're willing to take. I think Egg of Our Own is a little too slow at this point. So I think Deluge to hand. Egg in the library. Disruption will be our land for turn. And I think we discard the Dragon's Fire. They are free to... Okay, they get Celestus. A little bit of ramp for them is nice. So they can be holding up a counter spell here. Okay, so they've probably got... I feel like they've got a Dragon's Fire or similar in their hand here. As there was a bit of stick there, and I don't know what else could be causing that. So I'm going to go for the Deluge here. If this gets countered, that's fine. Deluge of their own. So they are very close to flipping their dragon, but they no longer have counter magic held up, which is very good for us. Well, this is an interesting situation to be in. So this will answer the egg for 1 mana, which leaves us with 4 mana for the turn. Would I rather have the iteration or the Deluge is the big question. I guess Prismari Command also answers the Celestus. Yeah, I actually kind of like this. So if I had shocked in the Shadow Skull Smashing, I would have been able to resolve Goldspan Dragon there. Little bit savage. So I think I just bounced this here while my opponent's tapped out. Dragon's Fire, that again can now answer an egg, so I don't mind keeping that there. I do expect the egg to get replayed next turn. And we've got counter spells or Prismari Command held up now. And I think definitely at this point, if my opponent taps out again, I'll be looking to probably cast the dragon. It's just a little bit sad. But we do have enough counter spells that this card here that I'm assuming is an Auron's Epiphany can't be cast. They get rid of Dissipate. Makes sense. It is the one hard counter that we have. Leer. So that would let them flashback duress. So I think we return this to hand. In hindsight, I probably should have just grabbed Mascot Exhibition there, because this turn I do have the option of just doing this, shocking that in to get the dragon down. Now, do I want to blow up their Celestis? Do I want to foretell my Epiphany? I think we just pass. So they know about everything but the Dragon's Fire. Dragon's Fire can answer an egg, but I need the dragon on the table for that. It can also answer a Leer. They are tapped out of blue mana here, so they can't protect their Leer with a Fading Hope. So they get to cast this Duress, and that's their turn. They will, of course, take my Oran's Epiphany. Yeah, wow, they took the disruption. Wowzers. I was not expecting that. So I'm just going to cast this now. And I think I cast this as well now while my opponent's tapped out. I want to use the treasure. If Goldspan gets removed from the table, that treasure becomes a lot less valuable. Okay. Divide by 0 is always tempting. And I do have the mana to cast it. Expressive Iteration's really good as well, but I think I'm going to go just for the backup Goldspan. And I think we call that a turn. So they can Iteration into Epiphany here. So if I return this to hand, they can cast their Epiphany, and they can potentially do the same thing next turn. If I try to counter the Epiphany that way, if I try to counter the Epiphany, then that gets returned to hand. They still get one extra turn, and then they have the Galvanic to flashback and an Epiphany in hand. So I think, given that I did draw the Divide by 0, I think I do have to bounce the Iteration there. I also, again, if I had that last couple of seconds back, I would not have learnt up Mascot Exhibition. I actually would have discarded something. To draw a card and try to find a counterspell. So we're just hoping they don't have another Epiphany in hand. Okay, they don't attack, so it looks like they do not have the Epiphany. We can also activate Hall of Storm Giants here. However, I don't know how useful that is. because I can just chump the dragon and the hall, and then they can do whatever they want on their next turn. So I think I'm going to go for iteration here. I can still cast a dragon if they, pardon me, tamper with mine in response. I like Memory Deluge, and honestly at this point I think I prefer just, oh no, I messed that up. I thought I'd cast Memory Deluge. I meant to end up with the Deluge in the land. Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. We definitely did not sequence that particularly well. I think I do go for the dragon here. Opponent flashbacks the Deluge. So they are obviously going to dig for an epiphany to go with their iteration. So what I can do here, if I want to, and I don't know if I do, is attack Prismari Command before blockers, get through an extra 4 damage, blow up Celestis, do I want to blow up? I think it's actually better for me to loot and try to dig a counterspell. The question is, do I want to kill a bird and get through for 6, leave my opponent on 3? Or do I want to blow up the Celestis? And switch it back to day. My opponent has 10 mana. If I blow this up, they'll be down to 9, which is still enough to iterate. Destroy. Yeah, I think I blow this up. Just crunch their resources a little bit. They only have black and red open, so they can't counter this. They might be sitting on a removal spell. Wouldn't surprise me. That's so unfortunate. So unfortunate. So we're basically just crossing our fingers and hoping our opponent doesn't have it now. Get in for 2. And that is our turn, sadly. Opponent on 7 cards. Okay, so I don't think they have it. Or they would have gone for Galvanic. They just would have gone for it there. As they have just enough mana to do it. So there's no Epiphany in hand at the moment, and even if they draw one, they can't copy it. That's very good for us. With our opponent facing down a lethal attack, it's incredibly good for us. Yep, looks like they're digging for answers. That may resolve. Nothing I can do about it, but opponent doesn't know that. Okay, I'm feeling a lot better about this game. A lot better. They need to remove a bunch of things. Even if they clear my whole board, I can still get in with Hall of Storm Giants. Yep, Duress. I assume they take the Memory Deluge here. I can't see why they wouldn't. They may have missed the Storm Giants, but at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that this game is just over. They do need to play a blocker. They do not. Because of the ward on this, they can't bounce it with Fading Hope. They only have one blue untapped, so all they can have is Fading Hope. Good game. But yeah, because of the ward on this, they can't, and that'll be exactly 7 damage, even if they manage to bounce something else. Obviously, the plan was to bounce the Goldspan Dragon. They must have overlooked the Hall. They take the Scry anyway, just to drag it out for that little bit longer, but then they are a good sport and let me get the attack in. Good game. So those are some pretty easy wins for us. And there's a little bit of tension in that final game against the Grixis Epiphany list, but yeah, I mean, we beat Mono Green handily twice. Obviously, we couldn't see what was in our opponent's hand, but that was a pretty strong victory against Epiphany. Again, they're best of 1 games, but yeah, I mean, obviously I'm familiar with Izzet Dragons. I'm familiar with that list. I have enjoyed favorable matchups against like the Mono Green and Gruul lists. So, you know, it's comfortable for me jumping into that, but it's also nice to show, you know, yeah, it's a great deck. Obviously, Utah's a great player. He's registered a really good deck, and it did really well for me in a handful of games there that I played it as well. So it's nice to, you know, in honor of him, play the deck and get the wins. Would have been a little embarrassing if we'd gotten like, you know, 3 losses or something. But there you go. It's a great deck. Maybe consider playing some dragons on ladder. Until next time, guys, stay brilliant, and I'll catch you real soon.